Welcome back to the shop, everybody. Today we are trying to get the inside ceiling to wrap around this curve. Now how we're going to do that is I've got a scratch piece of glue on here, which is the same stuff as this that goes on that curve. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some measurements and figure out where I need to start the curve at on this piece here. And then I'm going to cut about every ½ an inch to start out with to see if that will be enough to make that curve. Now obviously this one here is going to bend easier than the other one is, which means that this one here should bend how I want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and do some measurements and some figuring, and then I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting and be right back with you. Alright, so as you can see behind me, well, it worked. I can definitely get that curve in there as needed. Now, as you can see here, this one's not glued or anything in place. And that's because, well, I still have to cut more of the joists, or the parts that go from all the way across on the top, to be able to place that in as I am putting the walls in place. Now I'm hoping that I never have to do all those cuts again, but I just remembered there's an outside portion that has to do the same radius. So I will have to be doing that on that one most likely as well, unless I find some place with Baltic birch plywood, which I don't think that anywhere around me carries it. So yeah, it looks like I'm going to be doing this yet again for the outside. But luckily, that's a ways away from now. So I'm just glad that I came through this with all of my fingers, minus one little blister here, and doing this just barely worked on my table saw. There's spots where I don't know if the wood is bent or I just wasn't pushing down on it far enough, but it's not cut to depth on all the way across some of them. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. It wasn't an issue with this one, probably won't be an issue with the other one either. So luckily what I found out is as soon as I moved my fence all the way over on my table saw, I was able to flip these upside down and start cutting it and working my way towards the blade instead of away from the blade for every ½ inch mark. So that was definitely a good thing, because I did not know how I was going to end up doing that last 6 inches or so that I needed to cut. But it worked. So the next thing I got to do today is cut more of those joists. Those cut out so they are ready to be put in place. I didn't show you guys any of that because, well, you guys have seen it before. But I wasn't happy with just doing that today. So let's take a look at the other thing I did. Alright, so as you guys can see, I went ahead and filled in the rest of the insulation to make sure that we're good on these. I still have to do these two, but I'll probably do those when I do the front. But as you guys can see here, all this insulation is fairly tight in here. There may be a few little gaps like that. I'm not really too worried about it. It's a trailer after all. Any insulation is going to help it out quite a bit. Now that we're inside the trailer, I still need to figure out how to make a channel in the insulation to be able to run the wires, because just in between here and the piece that's going over is not going to be enough. And what I think I got figured out here is this Bernzomatic. It seems like it would be too hot, and it is, unless if we take and put a board on there and on there, then we can control it just about to a half an inch exactly, and it makes a fairly nice channel. It's nothing that nobody's gonna ever see, so I'm not worried about if it doesn't look perfect, but I think that it will definitely do the job. And as you can see here, this here is what happens when you just take the Bernzomatic by itself without placing wood first. So yeah, I think that this is going to work. So I'm going to have to mark on each one of these pieces where it needs to be. And then I'll take them out, burn them one at a time. Of course, I'll have some water nearby to be able to make that channel. Now, because there's insulation, of course, that goes in the front as well, I'm not in a hurry to hurry up and to get those grooves burnt in there. That will wait until I have all the insulation ready to go and just about before I put the next skin on it. So as you see here, I've got two sawhorses set up here with the two boards that I cut today. And I'll end up coming over here later with a spray bottle, spraying them down fairly decent. Then I'm going to go ahead and put maybe a hammer or something on top of here just to get that, so then it starts to bend the direction that I want it to. And I think that this is a great place to say that if you want to build yourself one of these, make sure to check out my resources down in the video description. I've got a Facebook group that you're definitely going to want to join, even if there's a website and a book as well listed that you should definitely pick up. So just make sure that you check those out if you want to build one of these, or you just want to see what's going on in the community. Until next time, as always, you have a good one.